while I was going through the whole agenda of when the conference owner reached out to me, I saw so many risk mitigation and all the topics. So I thought, why not talk about something different? So therefore, I chose a different topic, and I wanted to present a case rather than a theoretical model, right? And so I thought maybe I will present something which I have actually lived and which I have actually implemented. So I'm going to talk about the importance of cash flow. I mean, I believe most of us know cash flow, but in next 15 to 20 minutes, I will just re-emphasize why it is so important and why I believe this is the biggest risk for an organization. So about me, have over a decade of experience across various retail, omni-channel, e-commerce businesses. Started with a global conglomerate in fashion, then moved to a kind of home and hardware. Worked with Ace Hardware US, IKEA, and no Toys R Us, Marks and Spencer. Then worked for luxury group, heading their global operation for Lacoste, Swarovski, Sephora, Louis Vuitton, Michael Kors franchise businesses. And now I'm with Flaconi. So how many of you know Flaconi, by the way? Wow, thank you so much. So just one correction in just one correction in the revenue. We have already crossed 500 million plus. So essentially, in last 2 years, we are the fastest growing online beauty e-commerce in Europe. We are growing at 30% CAGR, whereas the entire Europe beauty segment is growing at around 10%. We have captured 30% market share in Germany, competing with all the big players like Douglas, Sephora, and all that in the e-commerce space. We launched 3 countries in 1 year, and this year we will be launching 5 more countries. So we have got 4.2 million active customer. We have got 14 million monthly visit. We sell 50,000 plus product, and we are operational around all the brand, and we have 1,000 plus brands. So you name any brand and we have almost all of them, right? So the next topic is, why did I choose this peculiar topic about cash flow in this conference where people are talking about risk, supply risk, regulatory risk, and all that, right? Because I believe all this risk ultimately goes and meet and impact one thing, which is the cash flow. And I want to just quote the famous quote from Warren Buffett, who said that cash to a business is like oxygen to an individual. So you can survive without shelter for a few months. You can survive without food for a few days. But I believe you may probably survive only for a few minutes without oxygen. And Warren Buffett had a very phenomenal theory. He said, for me, top line, revenue, EBITDA, all this is bullshit. What I believe in, a positive cash flow. So I think if gentlemen like him emphasizes so much about cash flow, then it's important for us to also understand and impact that. Let me share some mind-boggling data, and this is all from the authentic source. So if you start from 2019, because I believe if you talk about 2020, then everything is all about COVID and all that. So let's start from the base, 2019. Since 2019 till 2024, there have been 340% disruption in supply chain in one form or other. That has actually impacted cost by 275%, so almost double. So we have seen 3-time disruption impacted 2-time cash flow. And that cash flow had 2-time impact in the bankruptcy of the companies. So almost it shows that if my disruption is 300%, I would see kind of bankruptcy around 200%. So 2x bankruptcy compared to the 2019, which is the base. Again, I'm discounting this COVID and everything, which means actually we have seen disruption in last 5 years, which is equivalent to disruption in last 20 years. If you go before 2019 in the global supply chain, right? Which also emphasizes the risk that we have seen in last 5 years. There was also one important thing to know, that when disruption goes 300% plus, the acceleration in industrial bankruptcy goes higher, which means in next 5 years you will see more bankruptcy compared to what you have seen, because whatever disruption had been there, you will see those impacting the cash flow and the businesses now. So all the risks that we have discussed, somehow those risks have just impacted the cash flow, and now they will get translated into a kind of real industrial bankruptcy. So a phenomenon is every 50% disruption in supply chain and risk would ultimately have an impact on industrial bankruptcy by around 25 to 30%. It is only a matter of time, because disruption would first impact your cash flow in 1-2 months, and then it will start impacting your bankruptcy as well. So you might say, oh, this might be just a kind of theoretical part. Let me share with few examples, right? And so every businesses, right, in their life cycle, so 95% businesses fail when they launch in next 15 years, right? I believe all of us are working for a good company which have survived after 15 years as well, right? So what happened? The reason for failure in initial 5 years is different. It's not about risk. It's about you had a wrong product, a wrong marketing strategy, a kind of peculiar CEO or something like that, right? But what happened after 5 to 6 years? The main reason for industrial failure, company failure, is not about product, not about marketing, not about team. It's primarily about the cash flow, which mean and this is one of the reason why Warren Buffett said that cash flow is like oxygen, right? But the point is, why do they fail? What is the reason, right? So let me give you a few more example from Europe in last 2 years. What happened? Some of these names you might be aware of, some of them you might not be, but I have just taken few examples. So if you see, in last 1.5 years, 156,000 job got lost because of bankruptcy. Overall, we lost 71.8, around $72 billion of the whole revenue. Maybe you might know some of the example. For example, Bilko, a famous British home brand, right? $1.2 billion, billion pound, 93-year-old company, right? Filed bankruptcy. Why? Because of risk, supply chain, cash flow. Next, I'm sure you might be knowing this, departmental store. They closed 47 stores, impacted 17,000 employees. Why? Because of major capital crisis. Because of multiple, they tried doing it multiple times, but they did not survive. Next, Matalan, you might know this from UK people, right? It's a kind of, very well famous fashion departmental store, $1.1 billion. So as we can see, these are not small businesses which fail, right? Startup fails every day. These are giant, right? So giant fail because of the cash flow linked with your supply chain risk, right? And therefore it is important to have this, that in mind. One more example, I'm not sure if you know, but very famous shoe brand from Germany or Dutch, right? And so they closed 160 stores. 2 years ago, they filed bankruptcy. They were $7.1 billion in revenue. They had issue with 200 million of the cash flow. They were eventually acquired by Kaufland. Next, Casino, $33.6 billion hypermarket from France. They failed. They failed primarily because they could not handle the debt and the cash flow. See, examples are countless. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that cash flow is very, very important compared to anything else for the business. And we as a supply chain folk and the risk folk are directly managing and impacting this cash flow. So as I said, overall there have been 9 billion debt which was written off from the financial books. And that's what we see as an impact in the whole economical structure in the Europe as well. So the point is, if this is so important, why organizations fail to mitigate this part? And my hypothesis is this. My hypothesis is every business have 3 wheels. Profit wheel, which is what every top CEO board member look at profitability and EBITDA, right? Top line, bottom line. Then there is other wheel which I believe is the cash wheel, which means in order to make more revenue, you need more inventory. In order to buy more inventory, you need more cash. In order to get more cash, you should be able to turn your inventory into cash. And the third part, which is usually for me is a kind of ROE, right? Return on equity wheel, which is more of a kind of finance wheel. What happened more often than not, organization and the entire board level to lower executive level associate, everybody looks at revenue or EBITDA. If their EBITDA is bad, you will see in the financial book they write adjusted EBITDA, a fancy way of hiding, saying that we are very bad but we can't show you, so we will write adjusted EBITDA. But nobody look at the cash flow. And to be honest, when I joined Flaconi from big giant and working for big company, for me the biggest challenge was the cash flow. And that's why I thought I will share some real use case. That time we were into a situation where there have been talk that maybe Flaconi have to close down. And then luckily or fortunately, I got a good team. I started working on this part to really understand and analyze what is going wrong and how can we make it work. So in next few slides, I will show you the real example about what we have done and how did we actually turn around the whole business. So 2 years ago we had revenue of around 250 and now we are around almost double, 500, right? And in next 3 years we are targeting 1 billion, right? And again, not at the cost of just losing money like any other startup, but we are actually making money. We are profitable from last 3 years, right? But the point is, what changed from 2019 to 2024? So as per multiple reports from corporate report, HBS, McKinsey, global report as well, if you were making $100 or 100 million in 2019, that is actually now worth just 5 million. So we have actually lost 95% of the actual revenue. And I will explain you how. So we lost around 28% in the excess inventory and everything. So our inventory carrying costs have gone up by 145% from 2019 to 2024. And this is across all the industry: retail, startup, chemical, manufacturing, electronics, across all the industry, right? Our average days on hand inventory have gone up by 21 days and so on, right? Which is eventually impacting that businesses are actually losing 28% of what they were earning in 2019 versus now, right? Then we are losing around 15% in the supplier part, and this is exactly goes back to what Deloitte just presented about supplier risk, supplier mitigation, everything, right? So if you look at the whole ecosystem of supplier part, then we are losing around 15 days, right? Say 15%. Then we have got many things. So you will be surprised to know that the hidden supply chain cost is 18% more than the actual supply chain cost that businesses acquired. We don't see this cost, but they're actually impacting. For example, right, fuel surcharge have gone up by 85% from 2019 till 2024, right? Then also shipping premium have gone by 245. So we have seen so much of disruption around the shipping cargo and everything. Then we have got working capital. So for example, if you see that our cash to conversion cycle, which means once we buy from supplier till this amount gets realized in our financial books, that have gone up by 24 days. 24 days is a big amount for a billion-dollar company as well, right? And then at the end we have got and then we have got tech cost as well, right? So you have got, we don't realize, but tech costs have gone up by 12% as well. So tech is not something that we can control, but even without tech, there have been 83% depreciation of the actual benefit that we were getting in 2019 versus 2024. But has revenue gone up by 83%? No, none of the industry have actually grown by 83%, but almost every industry have got affected by 83%. What does that mean? this is ultimately affecting your ultimate cash flow. So businesses are projecting a very high growth, but ultimately what's happening is at the end of the year, when they look at their financial books, they see no money, right? And this is what's happened. So if you see now how to fix it, and this is where exactly what I did in Flaconi. I started working on, once I identified that where are the leakages, I started fixing those leakages by building a small team as a risk team, right? So for example, we had inventory optimization team whose focus was focus on inventory optimization. Don't worry about anything else, right? Then we had something called, payment term optimization team, right? Their job was to standardize the supplier, look for tier 1, tier 2 visibility, optimize it, right? Increase the payment term, right? Get some discount and everything. So I created this small cohort with a focus group, expert group, and what we have seen is phenomenal result. So overall, we have seen that we could achieve 3.2x ROI on our investment. Investment means investment on FTE, investment on any kind of tool or technology that we have implemented. As an e-commerce company, we capture a lot of customer data. So we know when customer is coming to our website, what customer is browsing through, what he is buying, what he is putting, what he is not buying, right? But seldom people use this data in the supply chain. I did not know about the customer demand, but I knew how many customers are coming as a traffic and what they are doing. So if one customer is consistently going on Dior perfume, there are high probability that that customer would buy. Why can't I use this data in my demand forecasting to convert it? We build in-house data team within supply chain, not as a separate data AI fancy word, right? And we have actually seen a phenomenal result, right? So for example, inventory optimization, we actually optimize inventory to 100%. You will be surprised to know that we are now sitting at 20 days of inventory, which is best in class in the entire part, right? I'm not sure how many of you know Apple have 3-to-1 strategy, which means they keep 3 days of inventory in their factory, right? They process order within 2 days, and they want to ensure that customer gets order in 1 day. Such a lean supply chain. Of course, they will grow. They are sitting on pile of cash. They don't have any issue, right? Even if tomorrow there is such a big disruption, they will survive. But how many of the industry have that? If there is 2 months of disruption, 2 months of risk, 80-90% in industry would go and file bankruptcy, right? And this is where my point is that we don't have to work on fancy AI things. Again, that's important as well. But the real risk in the organization is cash flow, right? And this is my own assessment that we don't have to spend 5 years of big project plan. With a 12-month of core project plan, identifying the right set of people, assigning right tasks, guiding right part, you will be able to mitigate this risk and you will thrive, right? So, we personally have seen at least 80+% success rate in all the projects that we put as a part of this risk mitigation plan. And this is not just us. If you look at the global successful companies, right? So industry leaders have shown, for example, right, theoretically you might achieve 100%, but practically industry leaders have achieved 35%, right? And some of the great company have achieved 68% as well. For example, P&G, they have actually achieved 68% improvement in the cash flow. They realized this right after COVID, and they put everything in place to ensure that we have all the metrics, everything in place, right? Unilever, right, they have achieved 48%, whereas industry average is just 35%, right? They have done different part. Again, we don't have time. I could speak on length about each of this industry, what they have done, because I think more often than not we learn from our own mistake. But my hypothesis is there are so many industry leaders who are making mistake every day. Why can't we learn from their mistake and don't repeat that mistake in our organization? Why do we have to make mistake and then learn from that mistake, right? So therefore I study a lot about this industry, what they are doing good, what they are doing bad, and then try to implement whatever I could in my organization as well, right? So long story short, the risk mitigation, risk avoidance plan has to start from now in every organization, in every department at a small group level. The issue is we start making this as such a big project that it required one year in just aligning the different stakeholder, and then at the end we get nothing, right? So what I did additionally, I we created something similar to which is globally available as a intelligent risk mitigation framework, right? So where we said, okay, this was my playbook, right? Every week I used to create this one pager dashboard which would have all the key metrics, how things are working, how things are not working, and then use that as a metrics to improve and continuously check how we are doing. For example, on the left side you can see map something as impact to probability to benefit. So we have got 1,000 risk. Which risk have highest probability of occurrence? And what is the chance that if I fix this, what benefit I will get? So you should have a three-dimensional matrix of risk to occurrence to benefit, right? Then you exactly know which one are actually important for you and which one are not, right? Once you know that, you start mapping them into saying that, okay, what is the risk, what is the chances of occurring that, and what benefit you will get. And then you can start having a different different strategy. So you could predict certain risk at early stage. Certain risk you will not be able to predict, so you will need more time, right? Therefore it might goes into kind of stress test, right? Certain risk would go into kind of buffer strategy, so you build some strategy. For example, PNG had a strategy called digital twin, where they actually simulated 150 plus scenario planning, and then they choose one scenario which was actually best fitting the whole organization, right? How many of us actually do? We do maximum 2 or 3 scenarios, right? In the AI world, this is what we should do. We should start implementing such a high scenario so that we don't have this kind of impact as well, right? In the interest of time, I will not go into detail, but I had similar metrics for my own organization to track what's going well, where are we doing, and how can we improve it. So I will just show you one result as an improvement from my industry. So when I joined, at one point we have 28%, let's say, unhealthy stock, bad stock in the business, which means impacting 28% cash flow. Within 3 years, now just less than 5%. Industry benchmark is around 7%, and we are way above the industry as well, right? At the end, I would just say it's important that we understand risk, impact, occurrence, learn from industry, and start focusing and make it happen in the organization. Usually these things have seen at least 80% plus success rate and 3.2 ROI. So thank you so much. If you have any question, happy to take.